Jagannathan, we will call it. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Jagannathan come in. If you just see as a Mr. and Mrs. Jagannathan came in, but if you are a geneticist or molecular, look, he's coming in just alone. What a timing, right? So if both of them are coming in, let's say, and if you are, just you say Mr. and Mrs. Jagannathan came in. But if you are a geneticist, you will say 3 X's and 1 Y entered the room. Right? The female XX and man XY. That is that noise there. Because nothing exciting is happening. Basically, more or less, the variety of X is 3, the man is 1, and the Y chromosomes is 1. Everyone gets that? But when something fascinating is happening, you see the changes. Now, anytime a regular earthquake happens, immediately we ask, how serious was it? What was the Richter scale? We also ask, where did it happen? We also ask, when did it happen? Think of what happened as a Mahabharata war is like a genetic earthquake. Okay, so what I'm showing you here is the Richter scale equivalent. How serious was this business? That biggest final peak there, it is y-axis. Look at the y-axis, is about 16 or 17. Divided by 1. So the Richter scale is 16:1, or if you take a signal to noise ratio, the electronics and electrical engineering in the room, then it's about 5:1, 16 divided by 3. So that's the Richter scale. The next question is, when did it happen? I take that peak, I draw a vertical line, it gives me the answer, about 7,500 years ago. The third question you need to ask is, where is the epicenter? Because if it shows America, then this will not work. Mahabharata war did not happen in America, okay? Although some folks at Harvard may think like that. Yeah? Go next, please. Next. Okay. So this is the graph from the same paper. Don't get too confused with all the lines. I'm going to make it simple for you. This is a time axis, and that one is, think of that chromosomes bottleneck that I'm talking about. Any deviation from the horizontal line where it is a 1.0 is basically a deviation. There are different countries or different areas of the world mentioned here. Go next. So South Asia, do you know what that is? India, okay. So let's cancel the South Asia. Go ahead, next. That's the Bharat Varsha, India. Now look at that dark green line, okay. That is the first one to see the effect. The longest to last, and go next, and the last one to recover. So that imbalance in the chromosomes, the first where it was detected is that green line, longest where it lasted, and it was the last one to recover. Do you see that? It's going there. Now remember, who else has participated in the Mahabharata war? The Middle East and the east of India, right? So look at the colors. Go next, please. This sort of, what is that, orange or the saffron color, that Near East. Yeah. So that's the second going down. The blue is the east of India. That's going the next, and so on. Now I'm going to ask you a question, okay? Maybe we can have a special prize for you if you give the correct answer. So you see the effect on India, then you see the effect on the Middle East, and so on. Now look at the yellow line for a second. What do you see? It almost shows the same behavior, except it's happening about 2,500 years after, about 5,000 years ago, 3,000 BC. Can anyone tell me what's happening? OIT, out of India migration. It is the same signature into the gene, into the population that is there. Now that's getting carried as these people going out. And of course, the Europe is thawing, the snow is melting for 5,000 years before that. And that's exactly what you see. Same thing for Central Asia. So the whole nonsense of Aryan invasion, actually, there is Aryan invasion, it's just in the other direction. Okay? And I'm not doing this for a claps, by the way. Okay? Thank you for the claps, of course. Go next. Actually, there is evidence of it. Yeah, go next, please. Yeah, keep on going. Finish this. Yeah. This humble domestic mouse, the Ganesha's Vahan. Okay? What do you see on the picture? This is a genetic study, Bonhomie 2007. Okay? So, if you start looking at the domestic mouse everywhere, mice everywhere around the world, start doing the genetic studies, where did he come from? Where did he come from? All of them end up in India. Okay? And so now, how did they go there? A vacation in the Alps? No. These again out of India migrations, okay, over the time. So this is not just only after Mahabharata, even before, okay. And there is evidence of it. I'm just, because of time, I'm not showing this to you. Going back to Ramayana times, going back to Mahabharata times, okay. But let's move on. So this is the evidence. What is the evidence? Domestic mouse is connected with agriculture. Okay. So with agriculture, it is gone out. Okay. Next. Same thing for a cow, zebu cow. Okay. Next. And this is a paper, again, just shows a diagram, but essentially it's a zebu cow going out of India all the way to Turkey and further. Okay, next please. Okay, we will excuse this because of time, I will not go into this. But something interesting happens there. So epigenetics, I will skip this also. Go back for a second. This is very interesting, okay, how the mind thinks, mind plays the games. Nyaya Darshana says, why there is a gap between the actually what you should understand versus what you pretend to understand. It says, tat trairasham raga dvesha moha arthantara bhavat. These are the three reasons. Arthantara, the actual meaning versus a distorted meaning. The only three reasons, raga, dvesha, moha. Emotion, envious, or what would be a good word for dvesha? Huh? Repulsion about certain results, certain individual, whatnot. And moha, mudata, which is like confused mind or not able to comprehend properly. And actually there is another verse which says, by the way, there are not three, there is only one. Moha, stupidity, lack of intellect. That's what it says. Now, the reason I'm showing Brahma Rashi Abhijit Vega is there is a reference in Ramayana. If you just use that one reference, you know when Ramayana happened. At least the latest when it could have happened. Brahma Rashir Vishuddhasya Shuddhasya Paramarshaya Archishmantah Prakashante Dhruvam Sarve Pradakshinam. Brahma Rashi Abhijit Vega is the pole star of Ramayana. The same Brahma Rashi exactly in the same way also shows in the Mahabharata. It's no longer a pole star. Okay? But it shows the same Brahma Rashi. That same Brahma Rashi shows in another additional astronomy text of India. But I will not mention the names because that gets into the emotion and other things. But a very famous astronomer of India, the Brahma Rashi, that person goes on saying Brahma Rashi is Abhijit and Vega. And then the person realizes if that person accepts his own interpretation, immediately he has to accept Ramayana and Mahabharata time of Nilesh Oak. So do you know what he does? After writing this whole explanation that Brahma Rashi is Abhijit, he says, but on a second thought, I think Brahma Rashi could be something else. I will leave that as a clue for you to check as a homework, okay, who that is. Go next. We can skip that for time. Not complete unless, let's see what it is has to say. Yeah, some few more things and I'll stop. Do I have a timer here? No. Basically, either you clap or I stop, you know, that's the idea here, okay? All right, so I asked for a name of a Swati, and your daughter has a name Swati there. When Hanuman, now this is 14,000 years ago, please keep the track of time here, okay? 14,000 years ago, that's the time of Ramayana. Hanuman is ready to jump towards Lanka. And just in a way of describing, of course, Valmiki is describing this when he's composing Ramayana. But he's saying, Hanuman is saying now, how am I going to jump? Like, you know, if you fly on an aeroplane, it shows the path of the aeroplane, something like this. He says the last line only, Bhavishyati meaning now. After this, I'm going to do it. Last line, Hime Pantha, sorry, go back. Pantha, Swate Pantha Iva Ambare. Just like Swati travels in the sky, I am going to travel towards Lanka. Just like a navigation. So he's saying, how am I going to fly? But the focus is Swati Nakshatra. Now, why is he saying that? Now, of course, he might have said Swati is a very bright star, maybe just a comparison. You know, this was one of my co-researcher who told me. I used to say, maybe this is just a comparison. And Rupa Bhati, if you have heard the name, she said, Nilesh, Valmiki or Vyasa do not write anything casually and carelessly. Every word has a meaning only if we have an ability and a patience to find it. I'm going to give you an example. So just remember this. Hanuman is saying 14,000 years ago. Go next. In a Taittiriya Brahmana, when a reference comes to Swati, you might know the Vayu as a Devata of a Swati Nakshatra. The word for Swati used is Nishtham. Okay? And in that Sanskrit word means a foreigner or a traveler. Okay? This is from Taittiriya Brahmana, and this is the path. Go next, please. Okay, and this is from Apastambi Gruhya Sutra. Again, referring to Swati, there is a word Nishtayam, and it's a, we have again a professor that is very helpful. See, there the translation, broader translation of that is a person, a father who wants her daughter when he is getting her married, okay, so very useful for you, okay, when getting married, and a father wants her daughter to be very happy where she is married. He should marry her on a Swati Nakshatra. Why? Because Swati Nishtayam means a foreigner or a traveler. So like that's what the girl does, right? Goes to another house. So even a single words sometime, many times in our literature, a simple word captures the history of that particular star. Okay, and how far we have to go? Actually, I'm showing it to you. Why Swati Nakshatra is called a traveler or a foreigner? Because if you go back only 60,000 years, in an Indian context and Indian astronomy context, 60,000 is like yesterday. If you go back 60,000 years ago in the past, Swati was not a nakshatra of the nakshatra system. It was a pole star. It was a north pole star. And so, over the last 60,000 years, it has moved from the extreme north position towards the ecliptic, closer to the path of the sun. And at some point, we don't know when, it was accepted as a nakshatra into the nakshatra system. The same nakshatra system that existed at the Ramayana times, Mahabharata times. So some of you, I know, must be thinking Ramayana happening million years ago, 24 million years ago. Here is your evidence why it cannot be any time before 60,000. Okay, next. Okay, quickly we'll go through a few. When Krishna killed Kamsa, go next. This is a Harivamsha evidence. The only reason I'm mentioning Harivamsha is the appendix to Mahabharata, but something else. When the evidence is not available in Mahabharata and you say, how can I solve this mystery? It's not like all hope lost. So when deciding the biography of Krishna, I said there is no additional evidence in Mahabharata. I went to Harivamsha. And actually Harivamsha is such a beautiful reference. I'll not go into the details of it. I have my other videos there. You can watch if you are interested. This tells you precisely to the year when Krishna killed Kamsa. And then if you go to Bhagavad Purana, it tells you how old was Krishna when he killed Kamsa. You put it together, it comes down to 107 years, the Krishna's lifetime. How many of you are familiar with the Saint Madhvacharya, the Udupi Krishna and that, right? Now Madhvacharya now this is my research. Now independently when I did this, somebody from Australia of Indian origin, Mr. Shastri, different Shastri, wrote to me and said, Nilesh, do you know that Madhvacharya in his Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnay actually writes that Krishna had a lifetime, his lifespan was of 107 years. So this is a Apta Pratiti, Atma Pratiti, Shastra Pratiti, kind of a different Indian kind of triangulation coming together. The reference evidence is telling you same, someone like Madhvacharya is writing the same. I don't know what evidence he used to do that, by the way, okay? Coming to this, next. Okay, more quickly I'm going to go through the astronomy. This is outside Mahabharata, but you must understand this to have a trust in what is being said in Mahabharata. Suddenly the astronomy did not start with Valmiki or Vyasadeva. It is way before that. Go next, model of the sun. Quickly look at the Greek error is the dotted line and Indian error is the solid line. This is predicting the position of the sun. Now, when were the Greeks around? About 2,500 years ago. That time, if you take the Indian model from Surya Siddhanta, it is twice better than the Greek model in terms of accuracy. But just hold your breath, okay? Go to the next one. But if you want to find out, in scientific way, when the Indian model have been calibrated or created or recalibrated, if you keep on taking this model back in the past, just as a curiosity, this is work of Anil Narayanan, ISRO scientist and aeronautical engineer, you find actually this model of the sun in Surya Siddhanta is most accurate at the time of Mahabharata, 5500 BC. Okay, go next. Okay, everyone understands latitudes and longitudes on the ground. Also, same thing, if you imagine a football, imagine that as a globe, imagine that as a sky, and in between, at the center of a football, you put a tennis ball. So tennis ball is, say, earth, and football is the sky. So just like we have a latitudes, longitudes for each location, similarly for the stars, if you expand, you can imagine that. So there are these latitude numbers in our Surya Siddhanta for all the 27 nakshatras. And if you do the mathematical calculation to figure out when they might have been measured, because those are the not numbers today, this is what you find. Go back, go next, please. Just quick answer, I will say. The latitudes of nakshatra measured in Surya Siddhanta were measured 10,000 years ago. Okay, and I was having a meeting with some astronomers from Pune and TIFR, both in Mumbai, not that long ago. So when I showed this and when I explained this, do you know what was their question? Remember that P1, TT, EE, P2. They said, but where were the sophisticated instruments to measure it? And it was a group of 20, 25 people, okay? So other people started jumping and answering. I let them. At some point I said, is it okay if I stop you and I answer the question? They said, fine. And so this individual was looking at me. He says, yeah, what's the answer? Where were the instruments? There were no instruments. Even Kepler was struggling with accurate measurements. I said, guys, that's not my problem. P1, TTE, this is how you have to understand the logic. What is clear is that they were measured 10,000 years ago. We just don't know how they were measured. That doesn't become my problem. That is a P2 problem for somebody else to solve, and we may never solve it. Still, P1, TTE is true. Everyone understands that? Okay? All right. Just because we don't know what happens to us after death doesn't mean we question our current living. That is all clear, okay? Next. Yeah, just quick one. Nautical miles, you might have heard the number 21,600 at the equator. And you know, many of you might have learned that French gave us those numbers. Yeah. Go next. This is the 3438, and I will not spend much time, but this is the circumference, and the formula is 2 pi r. And the radius backward calculated by Indian astronomers is 3438. It's called a celestial number. It is a mysterious number. It is a magical number. It was a mysterious number to both Americans and Europeans when they were translating Surya Siddhanta. They were asking us, what is the radius? What is the unit for radius? Because radius meaning what? It has to be inches, meters, miles, kilometers. And the Indian astronomers, Indian Jyotishi, they were giving the answer, no, there is no unit. And these guys were confused. Okay, it's a long story. I can talk for this on 1 hour. It has to do with a naked eye resolution of we observing the stars in the sky. And this is like, you know, what you see is what you get type of mathematical calculation. All the sign tables in Surya Siddhanta or Madhava's astronomy text or Aryabhatiya, they use this 3438. It is that astronomical antiquity number. Go next. Okay, this is a good one. Who discovered elliptical orbits? Kepler. When was that? 16th, 17th century? What if I tell you the Surya Siddhanta all along knew about the elliptical orbits? Next, please. Okay, this is the equation of the sun that I told you about, which becomes most accurate at the time of Mahabharata war. What we did, we meaning Surya Siddhanta, is they model the ellipse by using pulsating epicycles. The European epicycles are fixed. That's why there are many, 70 of them. Indians did just only need one, except it changes the size and the shape. Okay? And basically it is modeling the ellipse. This is 5500 BC. This is from 12,000 BC. Okay? Just because of time, I will not go into that. Go next. I'm almost done. What came first? Claims and evidence. I don't know what is there. Go next. Okay. Just last one. There is an argument made, and I'm sure you have heard it. Let me ask you. Many people will say, hey, you know, you Indians, or we say to ourselves, once a modern science makes some discovery, whether it's a test tube baby, then we start talking about Kunti and all of this. If something else, we say, oh, those Astra Shastra were already there in the Mahabharata Ramayana. Why do you not do this? And this is mostly asked by Indians, not the Western guys. People ask me, Nilesh, how do you convince the Western folks? I said, that's never been a problem for me. I'm in America for 30 plus years. I never had a problem convincing a Western guy if I have a science and if I have a data. I have a lot of problem convincing Indians. Okay, just like an argumentative Indian, the Sanshayi Indian, it's always there, you know, it just never ends. So the question is, like, why do you not suggest, we meaning us, from our text, historical text, say something that modern science has not discovered yet? Have you heard that? Why do you say only after the fact? Actually, there are many things. Huh? Yeah, now what I'm going to tell you, you are not going to believe it either. For example, so therefore, just as a fun, again, Anil Narayanan and myself, we published a paper, peer-reviewed journal. Some people are stuck in peer-reviewed journal, okay? That's a long subject, another hour-long subject. But when we publish, just I'll give you a hint of it. There are many things, interesting things in this one. But the mystery is this. The mystery is not the number. Mystery is how Indians measured it. Whether right or wrong, we don't know because modern science hasn't figured it out yet. But just like everyone knows Rahu and Ketu, you know what it is, right? It is the moon's orbit cutting the sun's orbit, right? So when the moon cuts the orbit, goes up, that is Rahu. When it goes up, meaning north, and when it goes south, that is a Ketu. And anyone knows the orbital period of a Rahu? 18. Yeah, 18 is good enough, right? 18 years. It is very fast, relatively speaking. In astronomy, very fast. Just like the moon cuts the orbit, similarly, all other planets also cut the orbit of the sun. So this is about Saturn. I'm just taking it because that's like you can easily relate to. Saturn is a very slow moving planet. So, but I'm not talking about Saturn going around the sun. That takes 30 years. I'm talking about where Saturn cuts the axis of the orbit of the sun, and how that particular point, just like a Rahu, okay, but Rahu in case of Saturn, what is the speed of its movement? In case of Rahu, it's 18 years, meaning it goes through 360 degrees in 18 years. Surya Siddhanta tells us that this node or path, that is the word that is used, the movement of the Saturn's path or Saturn's node with respect to the sun's orbit, this is the speed. It says to move by 1 degree, it will take or it takes 300,000 years. 3 lakh years. And it is saying that for other planets also. I just picked a simple number because it's a number. So first thing, how many of you believe? I mean, you don't know. But how did they figure this out? Now, so far what modern science, modern astronomy has figured out is that the relative magnitudes given in Surya Siddhanta do match with whatever little data they have collected in about last 500 years. But they have no way of telling whether this 300 number is correct or not. Now, this is a prediction. This is a prediction. So people say, where is the prediction? This is the prediction. Now what will happen? If you trust modern science, you say, oh, that cannot be. Based on what? Actually, you don't have any logical or even a scientific basis. But that's how people quickly jump and discard information such as this. I think I'm done. Yeah. And so I just shared few areas. But if you look at the whole long list that is there, actually each of these is a mystery. Like physical anthropology, I'll just mention one. Physical anthropology, the evidence exists. Many of our Indic researchers use that evidence with pride. Okay? This is of Kennedy of Cornell, his work, amazing work, physical anthropology evidence. What it shows that if there was a significant gap into human continuity in India, it was between 6500 and 4500 BCE. Just so that you know 5561 BC falls in it. So those researchers who proudly use that data for explaining many other things such as Aryan invasion, why it did not happen, when I present that in the context of Mahabharata, they go, thank you very much. Can you go just a couple of slides more, next slides? Okay, if you are, so you can watch my videos, okay? If you have a sleeping problem, they work very well, okay? At night, you start watching, you are enlightened or you get a good night's sleep. Some people don't use smartphone. Well, tough luck, you have a books here. The books also work equally effectively. You start reading and you'll get a good night's sleep. Go next, please. So these are the books that you will see outside if you are interested, okay, by Subbu publication. And one more. No, back. And I just listed here 3, but some of, I don't know if we have a Kannada translation, I don't know, but they are being translated in multiple different languages, and I just found picture for these 3. So 2 of them in Marathi, 1 in Kannada, if you are interested. Thank you.
Absolutely amazing, sir. May I now request Ritvik Subramanya, who completely dedicated to the cause. Every year he comes, makes it a point to drive down from Hubli. This year he has brought 1,000 books, and 1,000 books and over 200 titles are available. 1,000 titles and 10,000 plus books are available. And let me request him to felicitate Nilesh Okji.
Okay, I know it's already late, but I'll take a minute. Our association, like Ritvik and myself, it began like this. It began on a Facebook. I didn't know who he was, okay? Just a one random, like you can write to anyone still, at least that time, maybe going back to 17 or so. So he sent a message in the Facebook saying, sir, your books are very costly. And now he told me today, by the way, that one book was costing like 8,000 rupees. I mean, I didn't know that, by the way. I'm not involved, okay? I did not set the price, guys, okay? And he said, they're too costly. Can I publish them in India? So I didn't know who he was, but I said, yes, you can. And he said, so then I asked him, what do you need? He said, sir, what are your expectations? And I will know, since he's far away and I don't want to take time. So I told him, please take these books to every household and every library in India. That is my expectation. And actually, he is doing that. I mean, the last time I will not tell you the numbers, okay? But it's a huge number. But amazing job that he has done. And by the time I met him finally in less than 6 months or so, October to like a February, all three books, each of the books, he has sold more than 10,000 copies in less than the 6 month 2018. Okay? Thank you.